Welcome to the Believe in NFL Draft Prospect podcast. It is an interview edition because we are now just weeks away from the 2023 NFL Draft finally kicking off. Feels like this process has been going on forever, man. But we have joining myself, Ryan Roberts, and Joe DeLeone on the podcast today, Mr. Ricky Stromberg, center out of the University of Arkansas. If anybody has watched their show over the last 2 years, because Ricky's been eligible now for 2 cycles, we've been big fans, and you were just our number one center, obviously, on the board, Ricky, in the 2023 NFL Draft when we did our recent center rankings. So I guess, just kind of filling us in, Ricky, before we get into kind of your backstory and everything, man. We're past the combine, pro days in front of us, a few weeks away from the NFL Draft finally getting here, man. How's everything been kind of leading up to to today, really?
Yeah, so it's all been great. It was a great process. So I got done. I didn't play in the bowl game, so I was done early, actually. I went home in December, and I was working out there, kind of prepping, kind of taking a little bit of like a week off or whatever from the season. So I went home, and then after that, went off to training. I trained in APEC in Fort Worth, which is a great place. I met some cool guys down there. But the whole process was exciting. I know I went to the Shrine Bowl. That's when when I first started doing interviews. I'll tell you, I was really, really nervous for them at first. I was like, oh, gosh, here we go. Whatever. So I just went in. But all of them went good. I felt good about all of it. And then transitioning to the combine, that's when I did some formal interviews and stuff. And those went all well, too. But it's been really fun because you grew up watching. I grew up watching the combine, being in it. Yeah. It was so cool.
Yeah, man. Ricky, I gotta ask the always fun thing to ask after the interviews are done. Or what's the weirdest question you got asked? I gotta know. Did you get any of the weird ones, or were they kind of tame this year?
I didn't. I'm trying to think. I had 6 formals, but I don't think I got any weird. I was told I was going to get weird questions. I've heard people were telling me, hey, they're going to ask you. They could ask you this or this. I would have to think on it. If I think on it, let me get back to you at the end of this.
It must not have been that weird though. If you don't remember, they must have been kind of normal.
Exactly. Yeah. So it really wasn't that weird, honestly.
Love
That's
it.
Good.
Well, Ricky, I definitely want to get into obviously a lot of the process, but I actually wanted to kind of touch base a little bit on your background. I know that you're a Oklahoma guy. I think Tulsa originally, grew up there and everything. I guess my main question is, how did you end up at Arkansas? Like, what's kind of the backstory to how you got to being a part of the program?
Yeah, so I was originally committed to Tulsa University. Tulsa's about like 15 minutes from my house. And so I was originally committed there for the longest. I committed there in the summer of, I think, 2018 is my senior year. Yeah, 2018. I was there committed from June to all the way up until a day before signing day. And then I had a bunch of other offers, but they were smaller schools. They weren't Power 5, and I really want to play in the Power 5. And so Arkansas, I was talking for the past week, and I was like, okay, maybe it's going to happen. Maybe it's I didn't know. And then I think it was the day before signing day they offered me, and I was like, I just took it. I just took it. Well, it's the best decision I ever made.
Well, yeah, and so when you were offered by Arkansas and you made the decision to go, what was Sam Pittman's role at that time? Was he head coach yet, or was still offensive line coach?
No. So he wasn't there. I got recruited by Morris. Chad Morris was his last year there.
Gotcha.
So I had my O-line coach was Dustin Fry. I don't know if you guys know him. He was at SMU before, but that was the staff that was there. They was there for 1 year, and Coach Morris got fired in November, and then Coach Pitt came in middle of January. I think they hired him.
For you being an offensive lineman and them hiring an offensive line coach, and the ongoing gag, just from the outside, not gag, but the thought of Sam Pittman, everyone's like, oh, this is a real football guy, real tough guy. You're getting a true offensive line coach in Sam Pittman being the head coach of Arkansas. For you as an offensive lineman, what was it like having him leading your team? Does he coach the team like an old lineman? Does that help your approach and your demeanor as a player?
Yeah. So he didn't really coach. I mean, since he was an O-line coach, he would come in and he would come into our meetings every once in a while, because he's an O-line guy, so he wants to come hang out and stuff. But I mean, he never during Indy's, the time he has the time to walk around, he would walk straight over the O-line first for sure, and then kind of coach in a little bit. But he was more focused on being a head coach, I think, at the time. So he wasn't really around too much. But when I first heard of him, I was excited. I was like, wow, this is the offensive line guru. He put 2 guys, I think, in the first round before he came to Arkansas, from the past year. Was it Andrew Thomas and another guy, I think, right?
Yep.
Those two guys. But I was like, wow, this guy's about to come. So it was really cool when he first came in the building. I first met him. Like it was cool, and then on from there it was great. My relationship with him was great throughout the 3 years he was there, or I was there when he got there.
And how do you feel, Ricky, as far as like the future of Arkansas football? Because I mean, I've seen a lot of great signs, obviously, out of the team over the last couple of years under Coach Pittman. Seems to be kind of a big emphasis on toughness and physicality and kind of doing everything the right way. What are your expectations just of where Arkansas is going to go from where you guys left it here?
Yeah, I think they're trending up. I think they have a lot. I mean, I know their team's younger this year. I know they got some transfers. It's kind of crazy because when I came in there, like I knew everybody, and like this past year I left, and I actually went and worked out there today during the day, and I saw the guys that I knew, but there's a lot. It's a younger team, it's younger guys. I know two of my great friends are still there. They're playing the offensive line, but I think it's trending up. I really do, because the way Coach Pitt runs the culture or runs the program, like type of culture they have, I think it's only trending up from here. And they have a bunch of younger guys coming in that are good players, I think. So I think it's only the more they grow, the more leadership skills they're going to obtain. So I think it'll be good for them.
So Ricky, a lot of people believed that after your junior year or the previous draft cycle, that if you entered, you would have been one of the higher centers selected, or possibly the highest center drafted in the 2022 class. You decided to go back with eligibility remaining. What impacted that decision? Why did you decide that you wanted to go back and play for another year?
Yeah, so after the season I went and talked to Coach Pitt, and he told me my grades, and there was some like 3 to 4s, and then there was also like 5 to 6. I'm trying to remember. It's like 5 to 6. So it wasn't like I thought it would be. I thought it would be, in my head, I was like, okay, like if it's 2 to 3 grades, a lot. Most of the teams say that, like, yeah, I'm going to go. It was 3 to 4, and then some 5 to 6, 5, 6. That was like the majority. Those two type of grades were what I was getting back. Mm-hmm. So then I was thinking, I was like, okay, like, like I knew what's the guy from Iowa? His name that came out last year.
Linderbaum.
I knew he was number one for sure. I know there was a mix of them. So I thought, like, I'm a junior. I've played, this is my second year at center. I was like, it would not hurt coming back at all. And I have my best friends here. They're all coming back from another season. So it's like, it was kind of almost like easy. It was all right. Well, it's like, go out, go get undrafted, or be late, or whatever could have happened, or come back, have another year of football. I'm comfortable here. I can grow here. I have my friends here, closer to family, so it's kind of easy.
Well, and I know obviously you mentioned that obviously the last 3 years now at center. I think you started played a little bit of guard as a freshman, if I remember correctly.
I started 2 games at. Oh my gosh, it was a while ago. 2 games at left guard, and then I moved over for the rest of the season at right guard.
So how foreign was the center position to you? Is this something that you dabbled in during your high school career? Was that kind of just a brand new thing for you?
It's funny. It's funny to say that because so I grew up wanting to play like defensive end and stuff. And my dad, like, I remember one day I was shooting hoops. My dad was like in 7th grade. He was like, you know what? He's like, out of nowhere. He's like, you know what? You'd make a really good center. And I was like, no. No. Like, I'm a defensive tackle. I'm a defensive end. And it turns out, I moved to center. I did play center in high school for 3 games. I was always a tackle though in high school. Yeah. And I bumped back out the tackle during my senior year. But then when I moved to center and I started like figuring out, like I started like, because when you play, like when I first got there, I was learning. It was all in the center, So I was learning football, but not as much as I think I should be. And when I moved to center, it was like I started learning how to ID defenses and all this stuff. And the coach that was there at the time was a great coach, and he taught it well to me. So I think it was a natural fit. I think it fits perfectly.
Well, and Ricky, could I ask, from the general perspective, because, you already mentioned a little bit about the combine and going out to East West and everything, but you've been a lot of different places now, right? Like you're talking about Arkansas, you're down in Texas training, you go up to Las Vegas. That's a pretty wild experience. You go out to Indianapolis, which is a crazy, fun little city for people that have never been out there. What's just been the hustle and bustle of this process has to be, I don't want to know if it's fun, if it's anxious, like what's the emotions kind of working through all this?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's fun. I would say I enjoyed the combine a little bit more just because like I grew up watching that one. The All-Star game, I did enjoy that. It is definitely anxious though when I get there. But when I'm in it though, when I'm going through interviews or when I'm going through per se, like I'm at the Shrine Bowl doing practices or like combine if I'm doing drills, we do the workout day. Like it all falls like I'm not anxious anymore. I'm having fun. It's exciting. But it definitely is. It is like the thought of going before is like I was a little nervous, but I was mainly excited. I think I was excited nerves. But I really enjoyed it. Like walking in the combine, that was so cool. My parents came up too. They drove up from Tulsa, so I was like, we all got to experience it. My dad grew up watching it, so I mean, it was cool.
Dude, it's so wild because this was the first year I was there at Combine, obviously covering from media perspective, and that was the first time they ever let media in the stadium as well. And I walked into Lucas Oil, I was like, I'd never been there before, So I'm like, oh, this is real, man. Like this is legit.
Their stadium is cool too. Like I didn't realize how big their stadium is. When you walk in, it's a high ceiling up there. It's like it reminds me of AT&T. I played at AT&T. We played at A&M every year, so it reminded me a little bit of AT&T. I was like, this is a sick stadium, but it was especially the fan part too. Whenever they started they're letting fans come now. I think that's a really cool deal, especially for the day before the quarterbacks were out there, and oh my gosh, it was people everywhere.
Did you notice the fans when you were on the field? Is that like something that you could notice, or is it? I always think conceptually it's cool, but it just seems odd. Fans sitting and watching
a little bit. You can kind of notice them. It's funny because I finished the drill. I could hear my mom like screaming way in front. But you can, like, when you're doing the stuff, you're not thinking about it. Like in a football game, I'm not thinking about the 80,000 people there. I'm really not when I'm playing. So you don't really think about it. But after, it's always cool to go up. It was cool to go up in the stands and see my family there. After
Ricky, speaking on the combine, though, a little bit more, and I know I asked you a question about the interviews earlier, but who have you been, like, meeting with the most? Who do you think you've really connected with the most throughout this process amongst these NFL teams?
Yeah, so I would say from the day I declared to now, I would say I've interacted with the Jets the most. If I'm trying to think, the Jets have been really interested. The Bears, I'm taking a visit. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I don't think it's going to hurt me if I do. But I'm taking a visit to Chicago like April 2nd, doing the 30 visit, and then I have one with Washington the 19th.
Awesome.
But throughout the whole week, I think I went to the combine now. I think the Browns are pretty interested. I had them with the Steelers, Browns, Jets, Jags, Bills, and Commanders. But I think I'd say Jets, Bears, and I'd say Browns. I'd say those three that stick out. Steelers too.
You being an Oklahoma guy, Ricky, was there a favorite team growing up, or was there allegiance at all?
Yeah, it was the Chicago Bears. My parents from Chicago.
Nice.
So they grew up in Chicago. My dad grew up watching the '85 Bears. They went to every single game when they were really good. So I grew up like a diehard Bears fan.
So what's that feeling like then, Evan? That being one of your 2 top 30 visits, like what's that like for you?
Yeah, when I heard about it as one of my visits, I was like, I immediately called my dad. I was like, you're not gonna believe this. Like, it's just so surreal. It's like, I don't know. It's hard to. At first, it's like I'm like kind of like a kid. Like my like the little kid in me is like freaking out. Like, oh, let's go. And then it's kind of like Then it's like kind of like your head's like, all right, now it's like down to business, But in that moment, it was really cool. But I'm really excited to go up there. I've been in Chicago plenty of times, like as a kid. So I'm so excited to go back up there.
That's awesome, man. I mean, literally, you mentioned the combine experience, obviously getting up to Chicago now, kind of reminiscing a little bit and talking with your dad and everything. That's really dope, man. That really is. Yeah. Ricky, if I could, before we finish up with you, I would love to ask you about 2 different players. One is in the 2023 NFL draft. And I would love to ask you about a guy that's probably more of the 2024 kid that went back to school.
Yeah, go ahead.
Everyone has been talking a lot about, and Joe's a big fan of him as well, Mr. Drew Sanders that plays linebacker, obviously, for Arkansas. Now, I know you're probably seeing more of the scout team defensive players on a day-to-day basis when you guys are working team and everything, but just kind of seeing Drew as a guy that was only there for 1 year, played a lot on the edge at Alabama, obviously, and then transitioned to a true off-ball linebacker. What for you sets him apart as a football player? Like, what makes him special?
I think his like passion for the game, like not just that, but like his passion for the game is so deep. I think that like he plays so hard. His physicality and his athletic ability to be that physical, that athletic, and that big, to be able to move like he does. He moves like a DB. So it's like he's a guy you look at. I remember he came in the spring. He came down. We were running some simple inside zone play. He came downhill and we smacked each other. But like I have never been hit that hard from a linebacker before. And I was like, wow. Like, and he's also very, very athletic. He can swim around. Like he's swimming before. So it's like he's tough to block, but he's just so special because he has all those traits traits with him. So.
And then the second guy that's returning is a guy that you have to block for a lot. I'm a big fan of Rocket Sanders, man. Got to say, at running back position. What's it been like blocking for him over the last couple of years? And what for you stands out about his game?
Yeah, Rocket's a mature young guy in my eyes. Because I call him young because he came in 2 years before me. He was a freshman when I was a junior, so I thought in my head he was younger. But when he came in, the way he carried himself like he's been there for like 4 years already. He has great vision as a running back, I think, and he's a good leader too. Rocket's just a great overall guy, and I enjoyed playing with him. He was awesome to play with. I mean, coming off the sideline, say we got to run stuff, like he'd come over like, hey, like this, that's my. He'd be like, hey, that's my bad. I should have hit this hole, or like we come off, hey, Rocket, my bad. He's like, no, you're good. Like there's no drama with Rocket. He's really mature, like straight to the point type of guy. So.
Love it. And I guess my last question, Ricky, and I'll hit Joe in case he wants to ask anything extra, is it seems like by everything you've told us as far as your family, it sounds like you have a really close-knit family. And I would just kind of love to hear maybe a little bit about how important they've been in this process and maybe how you're going to kind of spend your draft day and celebrate with them a little bit.
Yeah. No, my parents have been there. My mom, my dad, my two brothers, and my sister, they've been there for me since I was like super little. I mean, I know my parent. I remember in kindergarten, my dad. I didn't want to play football in kindergarten. My dad was like, I was like, I don't want to play. He's like, nope, you're playing. But thank God he put me back in football. But I mean, they growing up. I mean, they come to every Arkansas game I've had. They've been to. I don't think they've never missed one game that's home or away. Like we played at BYU. They drove to BYU. They're there. Like wherever we go. We played in Tampa. They drive to Tampa. They love traveling, but they also just want to come see me. Like they want to support. So it's been like incredible. And then like going to the combine, my dad, they fly out to Vegas for the Shrine game. They drive up to Indianapolis for the combine. So like they're always there. And that's something that like I let my family's, I'm super close to my family, like you said. And then for draft party, I'm having it in Tulsa, Oklahoma at my house. Just going to be, family, aunts and uncles I've grew up with. And I'm so excited to like share that moment with them. Cause like, it's not, and I know this sounds cliche, but it's not cliche, but I think it's just true. Like I wouldn't be where I am without them and the support that they've given me. Like, and that includes like, car rides to games and, support, like, hard, tough love and things like that. So it's like, it's going to be cool to spend that moment with them because we can all celebrate it. I feel like in my head. So.
Love it. Well, again, joined by Ricky Stromberg, star center for the Arkansas Razorbacks 2023 NFL Draft prospect. Ricky, I know it's been very busy for you throughout this time, man. You got the top 30 visits coming up. It's only a few weeks till draft day, but we really do appreciate you for joining the show, man. Wishing you the best of luck. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. Thank you, guys.